welcome back to East Coast DNA. Today we have a guest here at the apartment from Antigonish. A little bit of a difference for some of our viewers. We have a death metal artist, and you're also a power lifter, which is notable and noticeable. So, you've been keeping quite busy. I see that there's a couple different streams for people to follow you. So if anybody's interested in the powerlifting stuff, you have your own account and everything on Instagram there.
Yeah. My I just call it my personal account, but it's usually just lifting stuff.
Yeah.
That's just at Gorilla Mac, and then anything that's music only related, it's at jmac.fm.
Okay, and I've noticed over the while that we've been doing the podcast that you're one of our followers in there, so it's nice to have you on here on the other side with the microphone, so you can tell us a little bit about what's going on your end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I love like all the coverage that you guys do for the local. And I'm not just a death metal guy. I like rock, I like pop, I like hip hop, so I like seeing nice little mix of everything in there. You guys do that pretty well, so.
Yeah, we try to get around all the different genres, not really jump onto one thing. So one thing with the death metal too is that I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I always had friends that were into it. So I do actually probably have more exposure to it than some people. And there would be some bands that I would consider myself a fan of, even though you might not see a huge catalog of their stuff here in my physical media collection. But I know you had mentioned some bands as influences in some of the stuff that I've seen online for you there as well. And there is a strong scene in Canada for that type of music. It just, you have to be into it to follow it and know who they are.
Yeah.
But when you start hearing big names, like some of the big names are Canadian names.
Yeah, especially in with death metal, like Montreal and just general Quebec is massive. So like I think a couple of the ones that I would have listed would be like Cryptopsy, and I might have said Cataclysm, I don't remember, Gorguts, but like they're all within that like Montreal scene. Yeah. They're like kind of up at the tippy top of the death metal ladder.
And there's a few, I think I may have mentioned it to you before, maybe online or something, but there are a few Pictou County bands that's going back over the last couple decades.
There's been a few. I can't remember names, but I was actually looking at Metal Archives, which I rarely go on because I'm not really much of a fan of how they handle stuff, but they're good for cataloging a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I actually looked it up. There's probably like 10 bands from New Glasgow or Pictou County in general.
Yeah, and a lot of them, there's a few of them actually live walking distance from where we are right now.
Wow.
So maybe when we're not recording, I'll name drop a couple people, see if there anybody you have any references to. Because a lot of it, and you probably find this yourself, like you're out promoting yourself right now for Paranormal Arson's first EP, correct? Yeah. So it definitely has that same sound that I'm used to going back over the decades. Like it definitely falls into that genre very nicely. But I find that the people that I know that were exposed with that type of music, because it's like a lot of back in the day, like in the 90s or even going into the early 2000s, if you wanted something physical media, because we didn't have the streaming services, like you had to order imports from Europe or from Japan or something. And then if you wanted to sell something because you made that music, like you say, there was a strong scene in Montreal, but if you want to sell physical media, you were selling it in Japan or in Europe or something. So it was really a network.
Trunk.
Yeah, exactly.
94 Toyota Tercel, something like that.
Big hustle movements, like going around to shows and stuff. So for yourself, would you have had exposure to any of that, or is...
I probably would have. Like, I would have been like a teenager during like that like early 2000s kind of scene. So like I might not know the people, but like I probably would have listened to some of it or like went to a handful of shows or something like that.
So do you find now, like I'm saying, with the difference from, that's a different era now that we're in this digital world, and everybody can do the do-it-yourself stuff a lot easier, and you can do your own digital promotion and self-promote. And like I noticed, like I'm aware of you through my own podcast, but I mentioned I saw an article through Boom at Noon, and I see you through Music Nova Scotia. Like it's all the same channels. So I'm not used to seeing a death metal band being able to self-promote through those channels.
Right.
So,
And I think a lot don't realize that you can. Like, I think a lot will say, oh, this is extreme music. They're going to say no.
Yeah.
But, like, Music Nova Scotia doesn't promote pop music in Nova Scotia. They don't promote rock music in Nova Scotia, Celtic music, hip-hop. Like, they promote music in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and they very, like I've mentioned it before, they have been very supportive for anything that I've tried to do. And it's not necessarily them setting rules, or it's I'm doing something. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm like, cool. We'll tell people that you're doing it.
Yeah, and actually, this week, like I was doing all the roundup stuff for the promo because it came out yesterday. And Monday, Music Nova Scotia actually messages me and is like, hey, dummy, you didn't send us your stuff yet. Get it to us. We're sending out the newsletter.
Yeah.
No, they're a little bit more polite than that.
Yeah, of course. But they're very supportive.
They poked at me just to make sure that I got my stuff in so they can post it on their channels. So like they'll back you up for sure.
And now another thing, getting back into the actual project of Paranormal Arson, I do see that you did some stuff with the Antigonish campus radio station, the CFXU.
Yep. CFXU.
Yeah. And you were on a compilation of theirs. So what's your connection there? Is it because you're an Antigonish person? You grew up in Antigonish?
Yeah. No, well, I will say I work at I don't work for the radio station. I work at St. FX in their marketing department.
Okay.
I work, we have like 800 billion different web properties. I run those. But I also did have a radio show on CFXU for a little bit called Scrap Radio with my buddy Dan Amaya. I would have been in a band with him called Sierra Falls, like a post-hardcore, like Lexus on Fire kind of band that we did one single and then kind of petered out as most 20s bands do whenever you're in your 20s. But it was a good song, and I recently actually remastered that. But we had a radio show there, and then I was on their 17 compilation, 2017, just as like a solo, just like a quick, crappy 1-minute punk song called Wayne Gretzky is a Pogie Narc. It was just like an inside joke between me and my buddies. I just thought it was funny and made that song.
Right, shout out to Landon Morris, who does work at that radio station right now, and he mentioned that specific song that I should ask you about that song. Actually.
Oh, did he? Yeah. And that was like, it was funny. That was the last compilation they did before the 2013 or 2023 one. So I ended up being on that one and the current one with the Paranormal Arson self-titled song.
And with Paranormal Arson, it's you.
It's me.
Like you're doing all the instruments and everything.
Yeah, like I don't play drums, so I program those, write them in Guitar Pro 5 because I'm a caveman. And I like Guitar Pro 5. Like all the arranging that I do is all in Guitar Pro 5. So if I write a riff, I'll put it in there. All the drum writing I do in that. And then just put it into like a proper drum library. But everything else, like guitar, bass, vocals, mixing, mastering is all me. The only other people that kind of had their hand in it would have been Mark Kosh, who recorded my vocals for most of the songs.
I did see you did some of that down at Shoebox there.
Yep. So 3 of the songs I recorded with him at Shoebox, and then one was at the Fishbowl. And that was the one that was on the compilation. And Harrison Stewart helped me with that. And then I had a friend from the UK, Lexi Crowley, who helped me a little bit with some mixing advice kind of thing.
Would I know that name from somewhere? That sounds familiar, but I was skimming your own stuff too.
Yeah,
so.
They're from the UK. I met them on like Megadeth message board.
Okay,
back in,
cool.
Like 2003 or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you're on the Megadeth message board, then maybe.
Who knows? Before I did the podcast, I was on all sorts of different forums and message boards, just poking around, having random conversations. So who knows? It's possible. Did you get to the Megadeth show recently? Oh, I guess they did.
No,
two.
I did see them on the Rust in Peace anniversary tour. It was like whenever it was them, Slayer and Testament.
Yeah,
that was a really good show.
I missed that one too. So you're a bigger fan than me. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a wicked show, but I didn't go to the recent one. It was just life, like this out plus
I was the same.
Birthday coming out plus all the other adult stuff.
Yeah,
so
you can't go to everything. I would love to go to everything, but some of those big ticket shows, I love to go to them, but I've been to enough of them over the years that sometimes now I'm like, well, I could do that one show or I could do 10 local shows.
Yeah, and nowadays I would rather see the local bands. There's just so much, and like especially with like how the scene is, whether you're in like the heavier side or you're into like the more like indie or like the more Celtic kind. Like there's a lot of young blood in all those scenes. So I would rather go see something local any day now.
Yeah. And now speaking of that, will you be doing any live performances of your new music? Like where it's just you would need to kind of build a little bit of a backup band?
Yeah, I would need a band. And like I have people I could probably ask, but like I'm not necessarily planning on it, but I'd like to. I think it would be fun to do it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of where would be a good place to showcase that type of thing, which is another part, like I said, where it's different to see that genre doing the self-marketing in this region, even though I'm fully aware that we've always had people performing that music around here. Like even like the teen clubs and stuff back in the day at all ages shows, like that music always bleeds into those scenes.
Yeah.
And we've always had musicians living around here. It's just you may not even have any idea that they listen to that type of music, let alone have a little side career going where they're selling stuff overseas. So
exactly. And it might just be a matter of getting a couple bands together and just asking, hey, do you mind if we have this kind of show here?
And especially I find for the Maritimes, like the whole East Coast region, we're entering right now. Like this is, as we're recording this, like you say, your EP just came out and it's the Victoria Day long weekend. We're getting into nice outdoor weather and there's a lot of opportunities for people to be performing outdoors. So it gives different artists different opportunities. So there's more opportunities for exposure out there. So maybe somebody can throw together some metal shows. I know one of my earlier interviews in doing podcasting was Rock Johnson out of De Birch area there. Yeah. But like they obviously there was some heavier bands doing some shows and stuff back then, and
for sure
that's not that far off from Pictou County. Antigonish is just another 20 minutes in another direction. So I mean, there's bands around. We just need to find the right venue to put everybody together and get a little audience out there.
Yeah, exactly. And like it might seem like a daunting task, and probably kind of is a bit, but at the same time, if you want to put in the legwork, it's there.
Yeah.
And if I do end up putting together some sort of band, then maybe I would try to do something like that in Antigonish, because I know there is, especially with the university there, like I know there's
you get a crowd.
Yeah, there's a lot of young kids there, and I'm sure some of them listen to some of the heavier stuff, and like we have some nice live music venues now. We have Candid Brewing, we have, I can't remember what they call it, but the Legion CACL.
Yeah, and there's I think Landon had mentioned Spindrift. We had some stuff there too.
Is another one that has live music a lot. So like there's Coldstream's another one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spots that you could host some music.
Yeah, and for anyone listening to this that's like thinking they would like to put a show like that on, like people will travel to something that's different too. Like I do like to see the bands getting around, because I don't always want to put a full tank of gas in the car just to go to a show, but you don't necessarily always have to play every venue in the Maritimes right out of the gate, especially introducing something that maybe people aren't used to going out to see. people that want to hear it will travel, and then you'll get a good gauge for what type of crowds you're going to get for that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So another thing too, you had a music video that you made.
Yep.
And it was featuring a bunch of clips from wrestling.
Yes. So it was wrestler Nick Gage. He's like a deathmatch wrestler, like basically like hardcore wrestling on steroids kind of thing. Like, and I'm not super into deathmatch wrestling, but I do like Nick Gage. I just like his delivery and I like his story. Like he's actually like came from a bit of a rough, like for real, came from a bit of a rough background, and like at some point in his career ended up robbing a bank just because he was broke, and then went to jail for that and kind of turned his life around in jail. And like whenever he mentions Eastern Bloc, like he's not talking about the USSR affiliated countries. Like he's talking about Eastern Bloc in that prison, and like a couple people that like a couple old timers that like kind of helped him get on the right path again. And like he started using wrestling as like a bit of a positive and to keep himself healthy, keep himself doing the right thing and all that stuff. So it's kind of a, like you look at him, he's a hard ticket, but like it's kind of a inspirational story. And he asked his Instagram followers, he's like, hey, make him, I want to see what you can make a music video out of me. I'm like, I have my own music and I kind of like what he does, so I'm going to make him a music video. And I sent it to him and he's seen it. He replied to me in email. He's like, oh yeah, great video, thanks. And so that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, it was fun to make. And I like the song itself is not about Nick. It's about like it's a Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul story about Hector Salamanca.
Yeah, I noticed in the lyrics some of the names, and I actually just finished watching the last season of Better Call Saul like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that like aside from Simpsons and wrestling, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, like that whole series is kind of my favorite TV show. So I figured I needed to do something, and it like that story kind of fit, but it also sort of fit with like the Nick Gage theme, because just like his style is very like, if you're gonna take me out, I'll take you out with me kind of thing. So it kind of fit with his style too.
Well, and that overall kind of message that kind of hangs in there too. I don't know. I might be reading into it a little too much, but I'm curious for yourself if you see any parallels with that, because from the outside, without knowing you personally, from my exposure to things like death metal, and to a lesser extent for my exposure to it, but the fact that you're into the powerlifting type thing, those are both things that you're making yourself into a big, huge fella, which can be intimidating to some people. Right. And you're playing a harder style of music that I will admit that it is an acquired taste, even though I do listen to some of it. Even when I go back to it, like sometimes I need to get a few songs under my belt before I'm really back into it
and like
again.
Even myself, where like that's my primary style of music. Sometimes I do need to put on a little bit of Elton John or Fleetwood Mac just to kind of decompress a little bit and take a bit of a breather, and then okay, I'm good.
That's often a misconception that anybody that's into that is only into that. But that's what I was kind of wondering. Do you find that as kind of an out, like being able to create your own music in that genre and be able to have control of it? It's kind of an outlet for that type of.
Yeah, like maybe not entirely consciously, but subconsciously maybe. Like I didn't really think about it whenever I was writing that stuff, but it is absolutely like an outlet for just like stress and negative energy too. Not so much in the lyrics, because I usually just try to tell stories with the lyrics, but whenever I'm writing riffs, like I like a lot, you probably hear a lot of like the tension and stress within the riff itself, and that's kind of the outlet for that. So it does help just in general, just to have that little outlet of negative energy to apply it to something productive.
Yeah. And then that kind of burns it out and leaves you to just focus on the positive stuff outside of it, which you're able to then turn around and put that energy into marketing yourself and trying to push yourself forward a little bit more too.
Yep.
So it is outside of pushing yourself forward. Often when I'm interviewing bands, we'll ask about some other people that they've played with and that type of thing. And I know this is a new EP, and like there hasn't been a live performance of this type of thing yet. But now that you have been, because you've been pushing this for a little while now, even though the EP just came out, like you had singles beforehand, and you've mentioned stuff online, and obviously you got a little bit of hustle there. You reached out to us, you reached out to a couple other outlets, so you're doing the work. Have you had anybody that's also working in that genre that has reached out? There's like new connections from you putting yourself out there, or is there other people that you are aware of in your region that are doing that same type of music?
In Antigonish, not really.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's like fans of heavy music in Antigonish, and like just for example, Clifton Bedepaw, who performs under Littlefoot. He's not a heavy music artist, but he, like, the last thing that he put out is kind of this, like, it's a little bit darker, like that sort of like broody, gothy kind of, like almost like Sisters of Mercy-ish kind of deal, or like that, like dark goth rock kind of sort of thing. But he reached out, was like, oh yeah, no, this I like what you're doing with this and all that. And like there's been a few people that, and Landon even messaged me, or he posted like a story yesterday, like kind of talked me up a little bit, and like he is more on like that college rocky, grungy kind of Sonic Youthy kind of thing, but he's still kind of supporting that, so he knows the heavy stuff a little bit at least. So it's good to have a little bit of support from other artists, even though there's not a lot of heavy stuff going on in Antigonish.
So what do you think then for next step? Is it like for yourself as a musician and for Paranormal Arson as a project? Because I know that those aren't necessarily going to be the same thing going forward.
Right. Yeah. And it's not like Jamie MacDonald is not Paranormal Arson. Paranormal Arson is just a project that I made just as an outlet for that particular type of music. I did have another one that I kind of wanted to switch to, that I wanted to make a band out of, called Work Shoot, and that was going to be more like kind of genre agnostic, punky, sludgy kind of stuff, but I kind of have a little bit more momentum with the paranormal stuff, so I think I'm going to stay on that for a bit, and I'd like to do a full length, and I really want to learn a bit more on like the mixing and mastering, engineering side of things too, because I really think I can I have a lot of room to improve on that front, so I think I'm gonna like take a few courses and kind of use a full length as
that sounds like a perfect opportunity to do that.
And it is tough. Like I did it all on this, and like I think it turned out okay, but I hear some stuff that were like, I can fix that, and I was actually trying to, like, in the lead up, and I was just like, what am I doing? Just leave it, let it be a moment in time. This is where I was at this point. Just instead of just trying to cram everything in and trying to fix everything and then just turn it all into a friggin' dog's dinner.
For me,
leave it alone, let it be, and then move on to the next thing. And I think that's going to be the full length. And I'll try to apply whatever improvements that I can pick up from that. Any lessons that I learned from that, apply to the full length.
Yeah. For me, it was similar with the podcast. Like there's a lot of things that I know I could do better, and like right now sitting here I had a lot more control over the situation before we sat down, so it was pretty easy set up, get going, got the levels set so we didn't have to mess around. I pack everything up, hop into the green room at a venue. It's a game changer. You don't know so many things.
Yeah,
so
the
like
room acoustics are different, mic positions are different.
So I could sit on one of those projects for months and tweak it if I wanted to, but at the same time, I want to get it out there and there's so many opportunities for quantity that I want the quality there, but you gotta focus on incrementally getting the quality better and better, or you just go nuts and never release it.
How many people are really gonna notice, oh, I didn't add enough de-essing on this particular track, or like just get like you're gonna have a couple nerds like you that are gonna notice it. It's fine.
I know just enough to know what's wrong, not necessarily enough to always fix it. I had 3 different people listen to one episode where something was bothering me and nobody knew what I was talking about, so I just gave up. But I still know it's there.
Yeah, and like there's gonna be stuff where you're the only person that notices what it is, and what's wrong, and it's gonna drive you crazy. And you'll tell, even if you tell somebody, they'll be like, "What are you talking about? I can't do this."
And that kind of gives you a creative opportunity too. If you're working on a full length, you have the EP out. If there's something from the EP that was bothering you, then you could always go back and tweak it and put it in the full length as like a new mastered version of it.
Yeah. So there is 3 songs that I'm planning on putting in the full length from the EP, and I'm probably gonna re-record. I'm gonna use the vocal takes. Just because they're good. I know that like the stuff from Shoebox obviously is incredible, and like even the stuff that they have at the Fishbowl in CFXU, like even that was like those were solid takes as well. So I'll probably just use those, and then I'm just gonna completely scrap the guitars, totally re-record them, remix them from scratch. Just make sure that everything is exactly how I want.
Yeah, see, and that's amazing that you can do that. So I'm really excited to. Like I mentioned to you, I've listened to the EP a few times. I listened to it a little bit in advance, and I listened to it a few times again this morning. So like, some of that's in my head now. So I'll definitely be going back to it. But I'll be excited to see where you're going, and the new material as you're kind of refining your own skill set behind the scenes, recording and mixing and all that type of thing.
Right, yeah. And I have a couple in the tank already, so hopefully, I don't know if I'll get it out by like the end of this year, but hopefully early next year at the latest I'll have that done. So that'll be fun to get out.
Plans to do any more video content to go along with some of that?
Yep. Yeah, like I'm trying to figure out what I want. Like I have some ideas for. I'd like to either do grave robbing in Texas and just do like a total cheese ball, Texas Chainsaw Massacre ripoff.
Yeah.
Or I kind of want to do something with the Fear and Napalm cover, which is originally by the band Terrorizer, just because I love that song. And I don't know what I'd do with that, but I'd like to maybe do something with that, but I'll have to pick and choose between one or the other. I don't want to do both and just totally burn myself out.
Yeah. That's
but yeah, I would like to do at least one more music video for the EP.
Cool. And for this episode, for people that are watching along here on YouTube with us, if we play out with a song, what would you like people to hear for anyone it's their first time hearing?
The one that everybody always kind of goes back to is The Name Dies With Me, which is the one that has the music video.
Yep.
So I think that's I think that's the perfect representation of the project as a whole. Like it has like that slower, groovier riff. It has like that kind of stomping like beat to it, and a little bit of solo work, which I wasn't entirely comfortable with starting the project. Like I'm very much not a guitar solo guy, but I do think the guitar solo on that, for my skill set anyways, is pretty decent. Like it fairly musical, which is good to have in like a extreme project like that, just because like there's a lot of dissonance and a lot of just hitting you over the head, so it's nice to have a little bit of melody in there too. And it has like that punky part at the end too. And like I'm kind of half metalhead, half punk guy, and it has that like sort of crust punky like DB.
Yeah, I can
kind of
hear
thing
a
at the
little bit of
end.
it. Some of the stuff leading up to the vocals. You can kind of hear where there's like a couple sections where the riff will loop a little, and I can kind of hear that kind of crunchy '90s vibe kind of sneaking into the sound a little bit. So yeah, you can definitely pick up that influence.
For sure.
And for anyone that wants to continue listening to the rest of the EP, I know that you're on all the streaming services. I was listening to it on Spotify this morning, but I do see that you have it on Bandcamp as well.
Yep, it's on like all like the regular streaming services, so like your Spotify's and
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, Apple, YouTube Music, and YouTube Music / YouTube proper. It's all the same. It's on both. Bandcamp, Tidal, a bunch of them that I've never heard of.
Yeah, yeah, it's so easy to get them out there now.
I
It's
just
hard to
use
remember.
DistroKid to put it out, and they just put it out on everything, and I just go put the thing out.
Did the Bandcamp option have a option there to send you a few bucks for the effort there as well? Or
Yeah, I think I set it to $2.
Yep.
I don't want to charge people a ton of money, and I think Amazon actually sells it too.
Okay.
They sell it for like $3.50. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna see like 10 cents from that, and then Jeff Bezos will get the rest. So don't buy it.
Yeah. If you're gonna,
If you want to stream it on Amazon, go ahead. Don't buy it from there. If you really truly want to buy it, just buy it on Bandcamp.
and any chance that there'd be a physical release, maybe not of the EP, maybe of the future full length, or
Yeah, I would say most definitely the full length. I'd like to do some, like I know not a lot of people use physical media anymore, but I'd like to do some sort of like limited release, maybe like get a handful of CDs done, or like even like the cassette tapes. Like they're more collector's items than anything, but
yeah, I got a few here. I won't bother the people watching this with me bringing out a parade of things, but you can see I got there's Bloody Hell's VHS tape right there, and I've got Kilmore cassette over here. So like there's definitely stuff out there that people are buying. I can't be the only person buying it.
No, I'm another one of those guys that likes just having and like another. I haven't done much lately, but another hobby that I have is just kind of tinkering with old computers, like Windows 98 kind of thing, and DOS and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I like playing with all the old hardware on that, so I love playing with old junk. So
There'll be some interesting creations coming out in the future then anyway.
Yeah.
So where should people follow you online just to keep up to date with what's happening? I know Instagram's probably popular because that's where I see them.
That's kind of my main one for music. It's JMacFM at JMac.fm. So, and Facebook is at Paranormal Arson NS, and Bandcamp is Paranormal Arson 902.
Perfect. So we'll play out with a song here, and in the description we'll include some links there for your music video and a few different places for people to find you online. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you wanted to say to the viewers out there on YouTube?
No, just keep listening to music, keep enjoying music, and go see a live show.
and visit Antigonish. Apparently, there's a lot of musicians up there, and there's a lot of new venues up there. So
it was going pretty dry for a bit, but there's like if you go to Candid or Spindrift, or they're not Spindrift anymore. What are they're Burnside Brewing Company.
Okay.
Oak Manor by Burnside Brewing Company, because that
perfect
sparkling water company in the States was gonna sue them.
Oh, nice.
So they had to change their name. They're lovely. Great job, American companies.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go to any of those venues at any given weekend, you'll find a live act.
Perfect.
So go watch some live music.
And be sure to keep the podcast up to date with what's going on there as well. We'll keep an eye on you online, but anytime you want to promote anything, just drop us a note, and we'll be sure to get out through one of our channels.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks for stopping by.
Anytime.
It's the man the king, the god of this shit, Nick fucking Gage. And you know what I do. I represent the MDK gang, I represent Eastern Bloc, and I represent the Hate Club.
I don't follow the rules. I don't play ball. I do what I want, when I want.
And I'm gonna carve somebody up. I'm gonna make them a bloody mess till we fucking die. It's MDK all fucking day.
You've taken every fucking thing from me. My empire, my family. Salamanca money. Salamanca blood, sweat and tears reduced to ash. Spit on and cast away. You conspire to keep me in this chair. My incarnate prison. All your efforts will be in vain. 'Cause you and I both know the name dies with me.
Where's the motherfucking gang at?